Uber says drivers earn around 20 an hour. That number is on their website. It sounds reasonable, but that number is gross earnings before anything comes out. Before Uber takes its cut. Before gas. Before maintenance. Before insurance. Before taxes. What actually lands in your pocket after all of that? That is what this video is going to show you dollar by dollar from the top line all the way down to what you actually keep. Welcome to the Freelancer's Wealth Blueprint. We help gig workers and freelancers understand the real numbers behind their income. If that is the kind of transparency you need, subscribe and hit the bell. Let's build the full waterfall from gross to net for a typical full-time Uber driver in 2026. We are going to use realistic national averages, not best-case scenarios, and not worst-case either. Straight down the middle. Our driver works 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year. That is 2,000 hours. At a gross rate of $21 per hour, which is right in line with what multiple sources report for 2026, that gives us $42,000 in gross fare revenue for the year. That is the total amount passengers pay for rides our driver completes. $42,000. That is our starting number. Now let's start subtracting. The first cut comes from Uber itself. Uber charges a service fee on every ride. This fee varies by trip, but it typically runs between 20 and 25% of the fare. Using 22% as a middle estimate, Uber keeps $9,240 off the top. Your gross fare revenue of $42,000 drops to $32,860. That is what Uber actually deposits into your account over the course of the year. We have not spent a single dollar on expenses yet, and more than $9,000 is already gone. Now let's talk about miles. A full-time Uber driver in a typical metro area drives roughly 35,000 miles per year. That includes miles with passengers and deadhead miles, which are miles driven without a passenger while repositioning, heading to a pickup, or waiting for the next ride. Deadhead miles account for roughly 30 to 40% of total driving. Every one of those miles costs you money, whether a passenger is in the car or not. Gas is first. At an average fuel cost of about 11 cents per mile, which reflects current national gas prices and a vehicle getting around 25 miles per gallon, 35,000 miles of driving costs, $3,050 per year in fuel. Maintenance is next. Oil changes, tires, brakes, filters, wiper blades, the occasional unexpected repair. Rideshare vehicles take a beating. At a conservative estimate of 9 cents per mile, that is $3,150 per year. Now insurance. You need a rideshare endorsement on your personal auto policy or a full commercial rideshare policy. A rideshare endorsement runs $15 to $40 per month on top of your personal premium. A full rideshare policy averages around $154 per month. Using $120 per month as a blended middle ground for a driver who wants solid coverage, that is $1,440 per year in additional insurance cost. Car payment. You need a vehicle that meets Uber's requirements. Financing a rideshare-eligible sedan typically runs $500 to $600 per month. We will use $540 per month, which gives us $6,480 per year. If you own your car outright, this line goes to zero, but depreciation is still eating into your vehicle's value every mile you drive. Your phone. You need a reliable smartphone with an unlimited data plan to run the Uber app all day. Between the plan and periodic phone replacement, budget $100 per month. That is $200 per year. Let's add it all up. Gross fare revenue, $42,000, minus Uber's service fee, $9,240. That leaves $32,760 deposited to you. Now subtract your expenses. Gas, $3,150. Maintenance, $3,150. Insurance, $1,440. Car payment, $6,480. Phone, $1,200. Total expenses, $16,120. After Uber's cut and all operating expenses, you are left with $16,140. That is your pre-tax net income for the year. But we are not done. Taxes are still coming. As an Uber driver, you are classified as an independent contractor. Uber withholds nothing. You owe self-employment tax of 15.3%, which covers Social Security and Medicare. On $16,640 in net self-employment income, the SE tax calculation works out to roughly $353. You also owe federal income tax. At an effective rate of around 10% for a single filer at this income level, after the standard deduction, that adds approximately $1,100. Combined tax burden, roughly $3,453. Now, there is a partial offset. You can deduct half of your self-employment tax as an above-the-line deduction, and if you use the IRS standard mileage rate of 72.5 cents per mile for your 35,000 business miles, you may be able to reduce your taxable income significantly. But the mileage deduction replaces your ability to deduct gas, maintenance, and depreciation separately. It does not stack on top. The deduction method you choose affects the math, but it does not make the operating costs disappear. You still paid them out of pocket. For this waterfall, we are showing the cash flow reality. What came in, what went out, and what is left. After taxes, our full-time Uber driver takes home approximately $13,187 for the year. Divide that by 2,000 hours worked, and the actual hourly take-home is $6.59 per hour. Let me say that again. Gross rate, $21 per hour. Actual take-home after every real cost, $6.59 per hour. That is a 69% reduction from the gross number Uber advertises. Now, your numbers will vary. If you own your car outright, you eliminate the $6,480 car payment and your take-home jumps significantly. If you drive a hybrid or EV, your fuel costs drop. If you are in a high-demand market like New York or Los Angeles, your gross rate might be $28 to $32 an hour, which changes the picture considerably. And if you drive part-time and keep your miles low, your maintenance and depreciation costs come down. But the structure of the waterfall does not change. Every Uber driver faces the same layers: platform fees, fuel, maintenance, insurance, vehicle costs, and taxes. The gross number on the app is never the real number. Here is what I want you to take from this. If you are driving for Uber, track everything. Know your cost per mile. Know your actual net per hour. The drivers who do well on this platform are the ones who treat it like a business, not a job. They pick their hours strategically, minimize deadhead miles, maintain their vehicles proactively, and set aside money for taxes every single week. The $21 an hour on the app is not a lie. It is just not the whole truth. Subscribe for more real number breakdowns for gig workers. See you in the next one. This content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute tax or financial advice. Consult a qualified tax professional for guidance specific to your situation.